try to leave firearms, if you come onto a scene where there's firearms, try to leave them in place as much as possible. If you have to move it because you're rendering aid, obviously treat every weapon like it's still loaded, especially pistols like myself that we carry, semi-automatics, because, and some, I don't know how many of you are familiar with guns, but generally a semi-automatic, as soon as you fire around, it's going to jack another one in the chamber, okay, if the magazine's loaded. If firearms need to be moved, one person move it. That way we can document that. We don't have 2 or 3 people handling the firearm. If it just needs to be moved out of the way, got a body here, gun's laying here, and you need to move it out of the way because you need to work on the patient or victim or what have you. You know, just set it aside. Try to grab it if it's a pistol. Try to grab it by the grip only. Don't stick anything. Don't attempt to clear the weapon or unload the weapon, and never place anything in the gun's barrel or inside the trigger guard. Because obviously the trigger, you've all seen the old cop shows where the guy walks up with the pin and he sticks her in the trigger guard and picks it up and looks at it. Well, 2 things could happen. Gun may go off because you stuck that pin in front of the trigger guard and you end up shooting somebody. Or they put it in the gun barrel. Well, what happens is that compromises any evidence as far as if they go to test fire that gun later. Okay, you may jam a pin in there and end up breaking the thing off, or it could also put something, because most guns have what they call rifling in there, and so in that rifling you may introduce evidence or something in it unintentionally. So never do that. Again, never attempt to clear or unload a weapon. You don't know if that gun, I had a gun here not too long ago, put it on safe, we took the magazine out, all I had to do was sit there and do like this, and the hammer dropped. Somebody had been playing with that gun and modified it, so you never know if it's, you know, the guns we carry, virtually according to Glock, there's enough internal safeties that I could throw that on the ground and it won't go off. But this gun wasn't a Glock, obviously, but it didn't matter if I had it safe, fire, whatever. All I had to do was just shake it a little bit and the hammer dropped. So it was obviously an unsafe gun. If the victim reports any scratching or that they scratched the assailant, say you have a battery situation or assault situation where they go one-on-one, females especially, they may have scratched the guy's face or whatever. If you can, try to bite your hands, because what we can do is scrape their fingernails, get any DNA, skin cells, whatever, especially if they don't know who it is. At least that's some evidence we can collect until we do get something. Like I said, if you can, with paper bag, just tape it loosely if it's something that you can do, okay? And a lot of times, if we have a deceased person, this is what we end up doing. We'll take their hands too for when we get up to do the autopsy. That way, a lot of times we'll do fingernail scrapings and that sort of thing. So. Wet clothing, again, placed in paper if you can. Turn over to police. What clothing should not be allowed to stay in any kind of bag for more than 2 hours. Even paper bags, and generally what I'll do is when I get back to the sheriff's department, we'll lay that out so it can air dry. That way we don't get the mold issues and that sort of thing. Victims of alleged sexual assault should not wash or use restrooms until they're examined. Rape cases. I don't know how many times we get called and go, yeah, I was raped 3 days ago. Well, first question I ask, take a shower, you change clothes. Oh yeah, but I want a sexual assault kit done. Well, it's a waste of a kit, because at that point in time, all the evidence is gone. But if you guys get called to a scene where, yeah, I just got raped by a subject, just as much as possible, because doctors generally are going to ask the same thing, you know, and the hospital has a kit, or a lot of times they'll call us and say, hey, can you bring a kit out? We need to do an examination, and they'll collect that evidence for us. So do not let evidence leave your custody until it passes directly to a peace officer or law enforcement. Note your report that you handled the evidence and whom you passed it to. Provide your name, unit number to the officer to include in his reports. Prime example, we have DUI cases where we may have an accident, serious bodily injury accident, situation where you get a blood draw. Obviously there's a chain of custody form in that kit, and you guys have to note when you drew the blood and what time and that sort of thing. And then you sign the chain of custody form to us. We finish filling everything out and seal that up and send it to the Department of Toxicology. That's one example. You know, may go out to the hospital and you guys are en route. I know there's been a few occasions there's been stuff that's fell out of their clothing into the ambulance or whatever, and if you guys collect that, just put it in a bag and we'll get that. And I may have a form to have you guys sign showing chain of custody, because basically what happens is the chain's broken, can't be admissible in the court. Unfortunately, we do these investigations, and Dan can even attest to this too. You kind of have to think like what a defense attorney is thinking, okay? Whatever I collect, I have to prove that it was at that scene, okay? And if, for whatever reason, I end up with this and I go, yeah, the medics, the ones that gave that to me, if I don't have a chain of custody, defense attorney's going to prove it. And then they can ask the judge to suppress that evidence at that point. Just, some of the things that happen that we've encountered. So, but, the less people that handle the evidence, the better. So, that's kind of the first go around. Is there any questions? Okay. I've got another one.